Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. My name is Sharan Thaimade, and I represent Seed Global Education. And over the next 1 hour, we are going to be learning about navigating the US job search and how certain strategies can help you gain success in the American job market. And I know that these are some new times or some different times, if I'd like to call it, in this day and age, but we'd love to share some of our tips. And it's not me who's going to be sharing. We've got two wonderful people that actually are at the heart of everything, and they are from the New York University and their Tandon School of Engineering, who are going to be with us here today and going to be talking about this wonderful topic. Before we move on to the topic, I want to learn from the 170 plus of you who've already joined. Please tell us which city you are joining in from. Use the chat function and tell us which city in across the world are you joining us from? I'm looking at the chat and I can see someone from Indonesia. Welcome. Jarnal is here from Jammu and Kashmir. Radima from New Delhi. Patrick is here from Ghana. Welcome, Patrick. Anshal from Mumbai, Chennai. We've got people from the length and breadth of India, Vizag, Pune, Mumbai again. So East Coast, West Coast. I think Mohammed's here from Pakistan. Welcome. We have people here from Kolkata, Nagpur, again, more folks from Ghana. Thank you so much for taking out time to join this wonderful session, which is on navigating the US job search market. We're almost 200 of us in this room. We're just waiting for a couple of minutes until we let our guests come on screen and to start talking about the wonderful topic. We know that this Zoom can take a couple of more minutes for everyone to log in, but without further ado, what I would now like to do is I just quickly add my two wonderful guests on spotlight. And first and foremost, I'd like to introduce you each of you to Dr. Jolie Woodson. She's the Assistant Dean of Student Life and Services at the NYU Tandon School of Engineering. She oversees student leadership and engagement at the Tandon Career Hub. Her higher education experience spans through student life, career services, admissions, and alumni affairs. Basically, she's the best person you can contact when it comes to any of these things that relate to student affairs or after you have joined NYU. And we also have Brianna Ramos. Now, she's going to be the critical person to help you to join NYU. She represents the admissions team. We'll talk about her a little later as well. We'll hear from her. She's got wonderful things to talk to you about as well. Before we start off, I have a quick poll question, right? I'm going to quickly launch this poll question. And I know in these current circumstances it could be a little different, but could you tell us what aspect of studying in the US excites you the most when it comes to preparing a career in innovation and leadership? Is it the global exposure, perspectives, and diverse teams, or is it cutting edge research and frameworks, or opportunities for hands on projects, or networking with peers and industry leaders? These are some of the questions. There's a poll on your screen. We have already close to 20% of you that have responded. We want as many people of you to respond. The poll is going to be on the screen for the next couple of seconds only. If you can't see it on your screen, please click on poll and let us know, because we would love to have some bit of questions to get a sense from the audience. Super. I'm going to end this poll right now and just quickly share the results. And we can see that the exposure to global perspectives leads what candidates are focused on. But overall, the entire package in the US, which includes cutting edge research and frameworks, opportunities for hands-on projects and real-world learning, as well as networking with faculty, peers, and industry leaders, is what excites everyone. Without further ado, less of me and more of our wonderful guests, and we are going to now hear about navigating the US job search market. And Dr. Woodson, over to you.
Thank you so much for the warm, energetic welcome. It's great to be here on Zoom with all of you. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just going to share my screen and click over to my presentation. Give me one moment. And if I can get a signal that we are all good.
No, we just lost your screen share.
Okay, we're gonna try it again. Are we there?
That's perfect.
Okay. All right. We're there. We did it. Thank you so much again. It is lovely to be here with you, 259 of you. Again, thank you for tuning in. So my name is Jolie Woodson. I have been working at NYU Tandon for just under 4 years, but I've spent the last 25 years or so working in higher education, primarily with engineering students. And so it's really exciting to engage with you from afar. And should you find your way to the US and to NYU, to Tandon, I would love to meet you. So look forward to staying connected. And thank you for being here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some aspects of navigating the US job search today. Here's a quick agenda for what we are going to go through. I like to frame this in the career resources available to NYU community members, just so you have a sense of the kind of support briefly that would be here should you decide to join us. But also just to frame that wherever you go, you should engage in the supports and the resources and really just seek out help along the way. Job searching is not easy. It can often feel really solitary. So really want to encourage people to ask for help along the way. So I'm going to frame some career resources at NYU, speak briefly about US job search and workplace norms, talk about job and internship search strategies, and we're going to lean heavily on professional networking because this is a really critical part of job searching and building a professional community in the United States. And then we're going to have a Q&A. Okay, so I represent an office called the Tandon Career Hub, which is a career resource specifically for Tandon students. NYU, as you probably know, is a large global university. We have many schools. Tandon is one of them. So Tandon students have access to a resource called the Tandon Career Hub. They also have access to career resources outside of that office. So I often tell Tandon students that your career success and achievement is so critical to NYU that there are multiple avenues to seek out support. But just a few words on the Tandon Career Hub. Like most of the resources across NYU and throughout the United States, we don't place students in internships or jobs, but we support students heavily through the process of seeking out employment. And that can mean many different things. I'm going to say a little bit more about that throughout the presentation. We collaborate with the Wasserman Center, which is our central career services office, as well as academic departments. So we work with faculty and staff. We work with employers. We bring employers to campus and host recruiting events. We work heavily with alumni. As I mentioned earlier, networking is a really important part of being successful professionally in the United States. So our alumni community is a really important source of insight, support, referrals, connections, and so on and so forth. And we encourage students to engage with us one-on-one really throughout their time here. Once students are admitted, they have access really by the late summer before they start in the fall, and they can begin working with a coach. Handshake is an online platform by which students would schedule appointments and do lots of other career related things. So just wanted to put it out there. And it may be something as well that if you're looking at other schools, you're seeing other places too. It's a great tool. Okay, so I wanted to just broaden and frame the career resources across NYU. So for Tandon students and students at other schools, NYU folks have access to a very active job and internship board. Again, I mentioned it's called Handshake. There are usually around 30,000 or so active jobs and internships at any given moment, but it varies. There's new things coming all the time. And our students and alumni both have access to this. We host recruiting events, as I mentioned, so we do bring employers to campus in small and large events, lots of opportunities for that. We host networking and career exploration events whereby we bring professionals, alumni, and so on for students to engage with, to learn, explore, build their confidence, build their industry knowledge, and potentially gain helpful professional contacts, lots of different resources and platforms on all aspects of career-related topics. So resume, cover letter, interviewing, salary negotiation, really you name it. There's a lot that is sort of wrapped up into finding a job or internship, and all of the little pieces of that we can offer support on. We offer technical boot camps to help students not only develop their technical skills, but also their technical communication skills. So how they communicate and expand on their technical skills in the context of interviews and networking. And we offer ongoing access to folks even after they graduate. So we like to stay in touch with alumni, and we really let folks know that there's support really for life. As long as they might need it, we are here to support. So I want to transition into the sort of meat of the presentation, which is really about navigating the US job market, offering you some tips and advice and some things to think about. Before I get into it, I am wondering if we could just take a moment, and if people could share in the chat, what are some things that you've heard about the US job search? What are some things on your mind? They could be pieces of advice that you have, concerns that you have, really anything that you've heard from folks about what it means to find a job or build a career in the United States. We can just go to the chat. Any thoughts?
Sorry, I think the chat was not working. I've just unlocked it once again. I think it
Oh,
was.
okay. I was gonna say, wow,
Yeah.
300, not one. I'm surprised. Cool. Thank you for that. Just would love to get a sense of what is on people's minds. What are the things that they've heard? Primary concerns, H-1B. Okay. Thank you for that. Anyone else? You have to graduate from university at the US before you get a job. Oh, interesting. Okay. Is it true? H-1B, skills and past experience valued greatly. Yep. Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts, things that they've heard? That you cannot get a job if you are from Ghana. US employee might have to recruit more. Okay. Okay. So folks are sharing some things about visa, current events, importance of a portfolio, difficult to find a job as an international student. New grad opportunities are tough as an international student. Work experience is important when applying for a job after master's. Job market situation in construction industry, targeting to get a job. Okay. Do college expects to join club? So some of these I think might be questions. And some of these sounds like concerns. So we are going to create opportunity to build a career. Great. There's a lot coming through here. I can tell the Q&A will probably be pretty lively at the end. So definitely if questions have come up, hold on to them. We're going to come back to them. Certainly the H-1B situation will be revisited later at the end of the presentation. I do just want to say that, I'm hearing different versions of it can be challenging to get a job. That's how I'm going to interpret some of the things that have come through here. And the long and short of it is that's not wrong. It can be challenging, but part of the reason why presentations like this are so important and why places like NYU and other universities, I think among other reasons, can be so helpful to folks is because there's so much support and so many resources available to support students and alumni in the job search. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that can look like going forward. My message to all of our students now and in the future is Nothing is guaranteed, just like getting an A is not guaranteed. And you have to put in the time and the effort. And we want to encourage you to do that really strategically and intentionally. And we're here to support you along the way. My message to students is that if you put time and effort into your job or internship search, I'm very confident that you will be successful. But I think that that can require flexibility, an open mind, definitely a hard work ethic, and more. So I appreciate people sharing. Again, hold on to some of the things that sound like they were questions, but let's keep it moving. Okay, so a couple of common myths related to job searching in the US that are maybe a little bit more sort of specific than the very valid, it can be challenging, and it can be challenging for domestic folks as well, is that it's wise to apply to any job or internship that seems interesting, when in reality, you want to look for things that are interesting to you, but that also speak to your skills and experience, right? So the theme throughout this presentation, and really when it comes to opportunity searching in the US, is about a personalized approach that speaks to your skills in a way that you can demonstrate to employers. So we really want to have a targeted approach that doesn't mean, being overly narrowly focused, but it does mean really trying to acknowledge if you're applying for something that you want to try to match your skills and experiences with whatever the opportunity is looking for. So there's often a common myth that mass applying, so applying for hundreds or thousands of opportunities is the only way to get an interview. My message, and most career services professionals will say, that it's always about quality over quantity. It can feel the opposite, but quality over quantity, and especially emphasizing building that network, building your community, which we're going to talk more about, is incredibly important to be able to get noticed and have your resume pulled from a digital stack. Sometimes it's really about who you know, and really engaging with your network for that kind of support. Some people suggest that it is wise only to target on the biggest employers. So the biggest employers might be doing the most hiring. Nowadays things are a little unpredictable, right? I mean, it would be disingenuous for me to say otherwise. And I would recommend a varied approach always, whether that comes to employer size, location, industry, right? So one of the cool things about coming to Tandon and building up your skills and getting a degree from Tandon is that you can end up doing a lot of different things with that, right? You don't necessarily need to be narrowly focused or pigeonholed in a specific industry, right? Your skills may be more transferable than you realize. So branching out and thinking about this in different ways and having a, kind of varied approach can be helpful. People often think that networking is all about reaching out to people in your field or recruiters and asking them about specific roles or referrals. It can be, but really more than that, it's about just engaging with people to learn about an industry, learn about a field, ask for support, advice, really just sort of expand your knowledge. It doesn't necessarily need to be specifically in the context of a job opportunity, right? That might come later, but it really can just be about sharing information, sharing insights with a professional focus. There's another common misconception that interviews mainly focus on your technical abilities. And that really depends, but for the most part, that's only part of it. So applying for jobs and internships in the United States, even highly technical roles, more often than not, there are going to be non-technical components of the interview. Often interviews have multiple rounds, and a technical component may just be part of it, okay? So something to keep in mind. There's always variation depending on the opportunity, the moment in time, right? The organization, but generally speaking, you will not be assessed exclusively based on your technical abilities. Okay. So I want to go through, I want to breeze through these pretty quickly, but I wanted to share a little bit about job search and workplace norms in the United States. So as I mentioned earlier, we do not place people in jobs and internships. So there can be a common misconception around that, and some offices like ours are called placement offices. That's a term that I think is a little old-fashioned, kind of going out of style. We don't place people, but we offer all the support one could possibly want along the way, and often offer opportunities to connect with people who will actually hire them. So it is important to take individual responsibility in finding employment, but we give you all the tools to be able to do that well, and do that strategically. And you want to use a variety of resources in job seeking and engage a wide network. We're going to conclude this by talking more about networking. Interviews are more formal than day-to-day office culture here in the United States. Oftentimes, when going on a job interview, so you've applied, somebody's interested in you, they are now offering you an interview, right? So even getting an interview is a great achievement. And oftentimes, as part of this, you may be expected to make small talk, the beginning of the interview and throughout the interview. Sometimes it's really about just trying to have a sense of how you personality-wise may fit with an organization or a team. And in addition to showcasing your skills for a specific opportunity. Um, you want to be open with employers and direct in responding to your questions, and really often lean on concrete examples of your experiences to demonstrate your skills. So in the United States, we have a common saying, show, don't tell. And that basically means be descriptive, be clear about illustrating or demonstrating experiences as opposed to just saying, I possess this skill. You're going to provide a specific experience which allows you to show that to the employer. Eye contact is something that is very challenging for many of us. It's something that we have to learn over time, but is also something that is important with interviews and even networking conversations. Strong eye contact, which doesn't necessarily mean you're staring at the person, but strong eye contact can really convey a sense of confidence. So it's something to be aware of, and something that you might, we all, I would say, probably need to potentially work on. So self-promotion and assertiveness in this process, to an extent, are important. We want all of our students to approach their job search with a sense of confidence in discussing their goals, experiences, and strengths. That doesn't mean they know everything, right? I think there is strength in admitting what you don't know and being able to ask questions. But there's also an important sense of confidence that comes through in knowing what you want, and knowing how your strengths may be valuable to a certain employer or employment opportunity. It's also really important to follow up directly regarding opportunities, right? So a lot of times people will be like, I interviewed, I applied, I did this, I did that, and then they didn't follow up. They just sort of let it go. So that's a really important part of this. It is key to have a good understanding of yourself and your skills as it relates to your goals. Again, so your strengths, right? Not just I've done all these things, but here are the strengths that are most important, or here are the skills that are most critical and most related to this opportunity. And again, as I mentioned, right, you want to be able to share those concrete experiences that allow you to showcase your strengths, whether they're technical or non-technical, maybe weaknesses or challenge areas, things that you're actively working on, and your interests. None of us are perfect, but being able to talk about some of our challenge areas and things that we're working on is an important part of engaging with employers, and being successful in interviews. Okay. Couple really practical things. Punctuality is really important. It's important to arrive early for scheduled appointments, including interviews, and if you're not, to communicate in advance if you're running late. We're all busy and things happen, but the communication piece is really important. I'm going to say a little bit more about job search materials, but you want to have a concise resume and cover letter. So some of you may have used what's called a CV, which is a different document that also shows professional experience, but it's typically longer. A resume is really the norm. It's usually a page, maybe two, depending on, if you have a lot of professional experience, but it really is an exercise in conciseness, editing, and brevity. And it's really important to get feedback on a material like that, and take it really seriously. And a cover letter is a document where you literally describe your basically interest in an employer and why they should be interested in you. And it's literally written like a letter. So it shows another kind of communication skills. And it's also really important. And all of these materials, whenever possible, should be personalized and individualized to opportunity and audience. So what we don't want to do is literally just recycle the same materials, spam them out, mass apply. We want to be thoughtful and potentially tweak. Also just wanted to note, because this is often a big change, in other parts of the world, sometimes it's common to include a photo or personal information about yourself in job application materials. But in the US, that is very atypical. So we don't want a photo or information around age, marital status, date of birth, things like that. All of these personal pieces of information really typically should not be part of your job search, should not be part of your application materials. And their questions around these things in interviews are often considered off limits. So just a note on that. If you are looking for a job in the US and you are accustomed to having your photo on your materials, you can just pull it off. Not because we don't want to see you, because it's just not the norm in the United States. Okay. I'm going to keep it moving and offer some tips and advice related to job and internship search. I do just want to point out we do whole sessions on resume, whole sessions on interviewing. I'm sort of pulling together some things that I think are just most critical to share with you. But wherever you land, I would encourage you, again, theme throughout the presentation, seek out support. Whatever stage of the process you're in, seek out that support to get the help that you need. So most applications for jobs or internships, and a job, when I say job, I typically mean like full-time, you're done with your program, or internship, I typically mean for a defined period of time. So a summer or a semester, something a little more temporary. Typically for students that are still in progress of completing their degree. So most applications will require a resume and a cover letter. I have a hyperlink in here because we do link to our website with some additional information. We'll see if the slides can get shared out. But again, as I've just mentioned, approximately 1 page each. So we're not going to go into too much detail about these documents, but I do just want to say that you should always submit a cover letter unless you're told otherwise. We have many job seekers who are just sending out resumes. There's lots of ways you can do that, like a quick apply or an easy apply. And many employers will actually view applications that come in without a cover letter as evidence that a person is not that interested. And sometimes that alone will be enough not to consider them. So you want to assume that a human is actually eventually going to read your application materials. You want to take it seriously, and you always want to submit a cover letter unless you're explicitly told otherwise. You want to write your experience to showcase what you did, its purpose, and very, very importantly, the impact, right? So the most successful resumes don't just say, here's a laundry list of things I've done. They showcase achievements, successes, outcomes, and impact, right? So it really shouldn't be a list of experiences and responsibilities. It really should be a way you showcase how the things you did them well. Basically, like, what is the evidence that you did these things well, and how can you showcase that in your materials wherever possible? Sometimes that'll mean quantifying impact, sometimes not. But again, you want to hold on to this idea of not just, here are the things that I've done, but if an employer who doesn't know me is going to read this, how are they going to know I did this well? How can I show that I did these things well? Recruiting timelines vary significantly for different industries and even different organizations. So companies are basically hiring all the time. And in the end, you really need to remember companies are doing what's in their best interests, right? And so they're hiring when they need to. It is not atypical for new grads and for folks looking for internships to have two sort of main waves of recruiting. One in the fall, really sort of kicks off and gets heaviest in October, September, October, and then another in the spring, February, March. But the reality is people are getting jobs all the time, all year round. And the important thing is to try to understand what it is you're most interested in. And so you can, do that research and have an understanding of what you can expect for your field to the best of your ability to do so. Understanding, again, I mentioned earlier, really important to be flexible, keep an open mind. Things change, right? Things change. So really obvious, but important to reiterate, helpful to keep a spreadsheet to track what you're doing. We work with job seekers all the time and they're like, well, I get the automatic responses when I've submitted applications. So that's my tracking, or I have a window with 1,800 tabs open. I recommend a more organized approach. Really simple spreadsheet where you track employer, role, date, contact person if you have it. That can help you follow up. It can help you identify trends in your interests that you didn't know you had, and it can really help you be strategic about being intentional about building a network. So really good to just do that small, simple thing, but I'll think make it much easier for you as you go. I recommend keeping a copy of the job or internship description. You have no idea how many times somebody's come in and they go, I have an interview. I don't remember applying. I've applied to so many things. I don't have a copy of the job description. It's not on the website anymore. What do I do? So the thing to remember about the internet is that it's dynamic. It changes, right? And so just because something was there today doesn't mean it's going to be there tomorrow. Take a screenshot, copy and paste, hold on to these things for you. It'll be helpful later. And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we get asked how long it will take to get a job or internship. There's no one answer to that. It really varies. And the reality is, like, it's going to take as long as it takes, and that it's something that job seekers need to make time for over time, right? We hesitate to give you or give any job seekers a specific sort of number of applications or time spent. It's really an individual thing. But the point is to be consistent about it over time. And of course, to follow up on your applications after a week or two, if there's a way to do it, and then move it on. All right. So you want to develop a list of target employers, job titles, and keywords. That doesn't mean that you don't continue to add to it and that you limit yourself to these target employers, but helpful to have that as a starting point. It is wise to apply to many things. That doesn't mean anything. It just means many things and see what happens, right? Assuming that there's some way that you can connect your skills and experiences with that thing, whatever it is. And encourage you to consider multiple types of organizations and industries. Consider roles adjacent to your main target with similar required skills. Always personalize your applications whenever possible. Definitely want to be flexible, really all the time. It's helpful, but in terms of location, I recommend being flexible. Lots of opportunities across the US, but lots of opportunities around the world as well. So recommend that people keep an open mind in terms of geography too. And depending on the kind of opportunity you're looking for, there may be a higher concentration of that role or industries that are really, on top of your list in a certain geographic location. So helpful to keep an open mind. Also helpful to try to be quick about it. So if you see a position posted, try to apply quickly. If you see something online and it's been up for 3 months, it's not bad to apply, but not ideal, right? Not ideal. So you do want to try to apply for things as soon as you see them. Okay. So really briefly, there are essentially 3 different kinds of opportunities out there. There are advertised opportunities. These are the ones that you're going to see on LinkedIn, on company websites. They're very visible. There are hidden opportunities. These are not advertised. They are often connected to smaller, newer organizations. The startup ecosystem is always evolving in the United States, in New York, and in other cities. And so there's new organizations and new businesses coming up all the time. And then there are what are called self-created opportunities, much more common for an internship than full-time, but definitely could happen for full-time as well. And self-created opportunities are the kinds of ones in which a candidate and an organization maybe have struck up a conversation or some kind of relationship, and an employer essentially is creating an opportunity for someone because that someone has essentially, kind of promoted themselves as somebody that could be of value to that employer. So the point I'm trying to make with sharing this is that many people focus on this first bullet, these advertised opportunities, and they forget about the other kinds, right? And this is where the networking can be especially helpful. But an effective opportunity search involves applying for things that you see, but also networking to find hidden opportunities and really asking yourself, not just what do I see, but what are the things I would like to see, right? And how could I go seek them out or build relationships that might lead to those opportunities? Um, so these are some resources related to employers that sponsor. I'm including them in the slides. They'll be shared out with you. I'm not going to go into them in detail. And I think we're going to revisit the H-1B situation later when we get to Q&A. So I'm just going to leave this here. All to say, there are many resources out there. The first one is a tool called InterStride that NYU has essentially a subscription to. It's a very helpful resource to help people understand basically global job search really all over the world. I want to conclude the presentation by talking about networking really briefly before we give you a chance to hear from Brianna and then we take your questions. Again, really important part of what it means to job search in the US. And it is not, hi, I'm so-and-so, can I have a job? That is not networking, right? Networking is cultivating relationships and exchanging career information and advice. It is not the exchange of job opportunities. It could lead to that, right? It could, but it's not usually that right off the bat, right? People in your network, relatives and friends, classmates, faculty, staff of alumni of institutions you're affiliated with, your undergrad, your future grad school, what have you. Current and former colleagues, work supervisors, members of community, social, religious, cultural, other organizations, members of clubs and professional associations. I've had people who, they're very active at the gym. Fitness is important to them. And they connected with somebody at the gym because they go 4 times a week. And that was part of their network that led to a conversation that led to an interview, right? So you never know. And really the bottom line is that you get to control your network and you can put time and effort into building it and cultivating relationships with new communities and new people if you so choose. So this is really important because it can help you build a community to support and challenge you, meet people who could be mentors, gain information and advice, of course, about a role, field, or industry. Organization, right? And just as an aside, one of the coolest things about NYU is that we do have a big network, approximately 50,000 students, give or take, and just over 600,000 alumni worldwide. So, wherever you are on Earth, you will find NYU people there, which is a really cool, cool thing. So can be really helpful wherever you go to school to join clubs and participate in activities in your communities, to join professional associations related to your current profession or professional interests. They could be global, regional, or national. Attending events at organizations you're affiliated with, be them NYU, other higher education institutions, or other entities. Of course, actively use tools like LinkedIn. At NYU, we have a tool called the Violet Network for NYU community members, which is essentially our version of LinkedIn. And it can be helpful to create a target list of people and employers, or sometimes it's not even people and employers. It's, I want to just meet as many people that I know that I can find that are data scientists. Because that is really my career goal, to land a position as a data scientist. So I'm going to just see who I can find connected to my undergrad institution, my grad institution, whatever the case may be, to get a sense of what it takes to start a career as a data scientist. And the strategy that we typically recommend is called an informational interview. I'm going to leave you with some tips for that in just a moment. But as far as networking goes, just like other aspects of the job search, you want to start early and make time for it. Consider setting yourself networking goals, attending, at least one event per week or at least one informational interview per week. It's really up to you. These are just examples. Again, creating a target list of people, employers, and industries, and keeping track the same way I recommended keeping track of your job applications. The coolest thing that can happen in a networking conversation is all of a sudden it's turned into you getting asked a lot of questions. And in some ways, people can self-create interviews for themselves. So we working with students and they'll be like, oh, I set up an interview, a networking call. And before I knew it, the person was asking me a bunch of questions. That's great. You just made an interview for yourself from nothing. So that's a really amazing thing that can happen. And the bottom line is you need to be prepared to talk about yourself, your interests and your goals, And of course, to ask informed questions. We don't want to ask questions that we could find out ourselves online. We're trying to gauge a person's perspective, experiences, ideas, opinions, things like that. It's not really a fact-finding mission. And unless you know the person really well, and you feel you have it on good authority that this would land, would not recommend asking for a job or internship outright. There can be opportunities for that, but generally speaking, would not do that during a first conversation at least. You always want to take notes and reflect on these conversations. You want to say thank you. Sending a thank you email quickly is always a good thing to do. Showing gratitude is always a good thing to do. You want to stay in touch with these folks. You want to be patient. People may not respond to you quickly, right? You want to try to follow up. You can do that 1 or 2 times, and then eventually keep it moving. As I mentioned, just using the NYU network as an example, 600,000 people, there's always someone else to talk to, right? So just move it on, find somebody else on your list, okay? These are examples of very basic informational interview questions. There's lots more resources on this on our website and elsewhere online, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. The bottom line is to ask questions that are things you want to know, other than, can I have a job? Right? But to come having done your homework and come with a list of questions, hopefully that are tailored to the person or the field or the organization. We already talked about sending a thank you, reflecting on it, and really critically, if there are follow-up actions, right? A person suggested you read something, they suggested you subscribe to a newsletter, they suggested you do ABC, you want to go and do it, right? And keep it moving. The more of these conversations you have, the more industry knowledge you will have, the more people you will have sort of readily there when it comes time to ask for a referral, the more confident and comfortable you'll be when it comes to interview time. So there's a lot of benefits to really making networking a really important part of your job search. So I want to close with a couple of key takeaways before I wrap up my time. All of you surely bring many strong qualities to the table. You want to make a point to try to know what they are and be able to confidently articulate them, again, using concrete examples. You want to have a plan for how you're going to approach this and try to stick with it. Whether that's this many opportunities a week, this much time to your job search, and so on and so forth. You want to have a plan and strategy in place and use your time wisely and strategically. You want to remember this is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to be intentional with your applications and really, again, always tailor them whenever possible. We talked a lot about how connecting with people and building your community is really important, and presenting yourself in a way that shows how you can have value and impact, right, within an organization. And really, really importantly, no matter what, asking for help along the way, tapping into the resources available to you, whatever community you are a part of. We're not going to do Q&A just yet. I am going to stop there and invite Brianna.
Thank you so much. Before we move to Brianna, thank you so much, Dr. Woodson. That was really insightful. We spent the best part of the last 40 minutes understanding everything and anything about in the job search market in the US. There are 15 plus questions, and this is a quick reminder to anyone who has any questions to use the Q&A tab, because the chat, we might get lost in the chat for any of the questions. So we would prefer if they are in the Q&A tab. But again, less of me and more of now Brianna, who will talk a little bit about NYU Tandon, the School of Engineering, in some of the programs, and certainly how you can get into a premium university like NYU. Over to you, Brianna.
Thanks, Sharang. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Very happy and excited to have you all here listening to the information that Dr. Woodson and I have to offer. Okay, can everyone see my screen okay? I hope so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so yes, welcome everyone. My name is Brianna Ramos. I'm the graduate recruitment specialist at NYU Tandon on the admissions team. So basically that just means that a large part of my role is traveling to various cities and countries inside the US as well as out, recruiting and chatting with amazing students such as yourself. I've been to India many times and I love it there, and I'm very excited to be going on a trip with Seed next week. I will be in Chennai and Mumbai for our STEM Masters Conclave events that they host. So very excited for that. All right, just moving along, we're going to talk a little bit about NYU Tandon, as well as application requirements, deadlines, everything that you'll need to know in order to apply. So to get started, NYU Tandon actually has two campuses. So we have our Brooklyn campus, which is where graduate admissions office is located, and we also have our Manhattan campus as well. You can easily travel between the two campuses. You can either take the free NYU shuttle bus, or you can take the subway. It's going to take about 20 minutes, regardless of which mode of transportation that you take. So you can easily get between the two campuses. Majority of your classes would be in Brooklyn, but you might have a class or two in Manhattan. The Brooklyn campus is really great because all of the buildings that you'll be going in and out of are very close to one another, so there won't be much traveling for you as a student. We have 33 degree granting programs across 11 different academic departments. On this slide, you'll see our master's and PhD departments that we have, and we have many, many programs under each department on a master's and PhD level. We also offer cross-disciplinary learning between NYU Tandon departments as well as NYU schools. So if you're interested in two programs at Tandon and you're trying to decide between which one you want to attend, if you end up making your decision and let's say you want to be a computer science, be within the computer science program, but you have found some programs and some classes within our mechanical engineering department interesting. You can be a computer science student, but also take a couple classes within our mechanical engineering program as well. So that's what it means to be cross-disciplinary. You also have the option to do that within other NYU schools. So a lot of our students who are in our Management of Technology program, it's like a half business, half engineering program that we offer here. A lot of students will elect to take an elective or two at NYU Stern School of Business. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens between our departments and our programs. We have a little over 8,000 total students at Tandon on the graduate level, and about 5,000 of them are graduate or professional students. And then Dr. Whitson went over all of the resources that we offer in the Career Center. So she gave amazing information about that, so I won't go over that part of my presentation too much. Now we're going to get into the application requirements. So you need at least a 3.0 in order to apply to any of our programs. Back on this last slide, I put a 3.5 just to give students an idea. A more competitive GPA for our students who end up getting admitted is a 3.5, 3.6 on a 4.0 scale. I know that in India, it is off I believe, a 10.0 scale that your mark sheets are going off of. So once you submit an application with us, we have our own company that we use to do that conversion of the GPA for you guys free of charge. So you don't have to worry about that. We'll take care of that. All right. Now, before we get into the required application materials, as a thank you for attending this event, you will receive an application fee waiver code. This will waive the $90 application fee. So whenever you do decide to apply to Tandon, you won't have to worry about that cost. So thank you for being here. Going into our requirements, we obviously need your transcripts from all previously attended institutions. We will accept the copies that you own, that you have on your desktop, on your computer. So you can go ahead and upload those yourselves into the application portal. And then just note that once, if you are admitted into the program, we will need your official documents, just meaning that they will need to come directly from your university's registrar office. And then, of course, you'll need to answer our essay prompts. There's 2 prompts that you have to answer. You have to answer both of them. We also require two letters of recommendation. It could be academic or professional. It could be a mix of the two. It could be just two academic or just two professional. Whatever you have, definitely share that with us. We will also require a resume. So like Dr. Woodson was talking about, you will upload your resume with all relevant work experience that has to do with the program that you are applying to. I know I saw a couple questions about if universities care about clubs or other volunteer aspects of your application. If it's relevant to the program you're applying to the department, definitely add that in. The department wants to see the type of experience that you have gained within the last 4 years of your undergrad. So I also saw a couple questions about work experience. Work experience is not required for any of our programs. I know that MBAs typically require a couple years of work experience. That's not the case for us, but that means that you need to show the department what you have been doing for the past 4 years in your undergrad. What have you been engaged in? Have you done an internship? Have you done a research paper, a research project? What have you done that really showcases your skills to the department, that shows the department why you deserve to be a student in their program? So just keep that in mind. Also, English language test will be required. We accept IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo. And lastly, the GRE is going to be optional for all of our programs. So it is not a requirement. It's up to you if you would like to submit a GRE exam. The only way that I would recommend students to do this is if your GPA and your grades maybe weren't that great a specific semester and your GPA is a little bit lower than you would have liked, then you can use that GRE as a way to balance your application. It lets the department know that despite what your transcripts look like, you are still knowledgeable about the skills and about the content that's going to be taught at Tandon. So it still shows that you have those skills, you have that knowledge, you know what is being talked about and taught in these classrooms. However, of course, just taking the GRE and uploading it to your application does not guarantee admission at all. It's just a way to add balance to your application and hopefully balance that out. Going into scholarships, I know this is probably a question that all of you may have. So the scholarship that we offer is a merit-based partial scholarship. This is for our master's programs. You don't have to do any separate scholarship application in order to be eligible to receive a scholarship. We review all applicants for a scholarship. So the way that works is once you submit your application, we see your undergrad transcripts because our scholarship is based on merit. So it's based on your GPA and your grades from your undergraduate mark sheets. So once we review that, then it is determined how much, if any, aid you may receive. This is typically not going to cover the full tuition. It's just a partial scholarship. You can receive anywhere between $3,000 and $12,000 a year for a 2-year master's program. All of our master's programs are 2 years. This amount, it truly varies. It just depends on what the department is seeing on your application and how much aid they're willing to give you. And then I know that SEED also has a scholarship as well, so I'm sure they will talk about that later on. And then lastly, about deadlines. So the fall 2026 application, spring and fall 26 application has already gone live. It is open. You can go and apply. Just a few deadlines to keep in mind for the spring semester. Spring semester will start at the end of January next year, so January 2026. At the end of January is when the spring semester will start. Therefore, the deadline for the spring term is November 1. And then for fall 2026, which will start the first week of September next year, the deadline for a PhD is December 1. So if you're interested in a PhD program, that application is open, but your deadline is December 1 of this year. And then if you're interested in a master's program for fall 2026, you have 2 deadlines to look at. So you have our priority deadline that is December 1. We offer this deadline as an opportunity for students to get a faster decision. However, that is not guaranteed. So just because you submit your application with the priority deadline doesn't guarantee that you're going to receive a decision before January. Just keep that in mind. And then the last final deadline that you have to apply for a master's program is February 15th of next year. So you have those 2 deadlines for masters, December 1, February 15th. Applying to either deadline does not help or hinder your chances of getting admitted. They are just deadline dates that we have come up with. Applying to the priority doesn't make your chances of getting admitted higher. So just keep that in mind. Okay, I think that is everything from me. I'm looking forward to opening up that Q&A session and answering all of your questions. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brianna. I think that was very insightful as well. We learned a lot about NYU in this 10-minute elevator pitch. I understand so much to talk about NYU and crushed into 3 slides in 10 minutes, Brianna. I think that was fantastic. Wonderful. We have a whole host of questions, and I know that there are not many added because a lot of people have similar questions as well. This is an opportunity for anyone who has questions to now ask them in the Q&A section. I know 10 of them have been answered by Dr. Woodson and Brianna as well in some form or the other, mostly to Dr. Woodson. Thank you so much for doing that as well. Let's first talk about the elephant in the room. I think let's talk about the current H-1B situation and how does it impact Indian students? Rather, what is your take, Dr. Woodson, or if you'd like to talk on behalf of NYU, what is your take on how this current situation is, especially for Indian students that usually are around 70% of the H-1B visas are handed to Indian nationals? What is your take on this one?
Well, I mean, my take is that I think it's a worrisome time, and I can understand people having concerns. And actually, Sharang, I'm going to ask for your help with this because you have actually probably a better sense than I do about visa, requirements and needs. But, my note to folks is that, it can be very easy to hear things in the news and see headlines and get very worried. And there are a lot of things right now that are not certain and not concrete. And a lot of things that have been going on in the United States that are sort of, how to put this, claims of things that are either happening or going to happen that don't necessarily happen. So I just want to put that out there. To my knowledge, there have been a lot of concerning things coming out that have yet necessarily to actually come to pass. And so bottom line is, to make sure, you always have the accurate, complete, current information. And sometimes the answer is there's a question mark right now. And we need to, wait and see. Sharang, I would love to invite you to add to that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Woodson. And to the 334 of you, I think a large folks of you are from India and from outside the US. So I think it also involves you in some sense. Every country goes through some bit of hills and troughs. Sometimes there are so many opportunities, but sometimes there are not so many opportunities. This was seen in 2008 when the Lehman Brothers crashed, and there was the financial crisis which originated in the US, but then obviously spread across the entire globe as well. Were students considering doing a master's program or an MBA program back then? The answer was yes. I think COVID as well. I know physically there was no movement. But when there is question marks, as Dr. Woodson just said, I personally think it's a great time to pursue studying. And that's because everything is a question mark. If the US economy or the US political or the pestle environment, as you'd like to call it, is what we learned in school, which is political, economic, and social, technological, legal, and environmental. If any of those things are a question mark, it's a great time to study, because after things get into a particular balance, you will be well equipped. You will know everything that needs to be done. You will have training of faculty at NYU, and wonderful people like Dr. Woodson, with your CVs, with interviews and everything that the NYU Tandon Career Hub certainly does. That being said, the H1B for each and every candidate thinking about applying for 2026, which is the next intake that NYU is going to recruit for you, the problem, or you will look at it in H1B only 5 to 6 years down the line, because you study a 1 year or a 2 year master's program at NYU, and then you apply for the OPT, which is optional practical training, which is nothing to do with the H1B visa yet. Once you finish your recommended time at the OPT is when you will apply for the H1B visa. So we are looking at a problem of 2032. Yeah, that sounds only very far off, right? So that is when you will be needing to worry about the H1B visas, and by how life has transformed so far, nobody can predict what happens in 2032. There will certainly be opportunities for you, maybe not right now because it is hot in the news, but the dust will settle and you might prevail in 2032. So the H1B is a problem for you in 2032. The current folks who have finished their 3 years of OPT are worried about H1B at this stage in the US. And I completely understand that. Folks that are currently studying, that is a question mark. But for you, you're going to have that problem only 5, 6 years down the line. So I hope that eases some bit of pressure about H1B. And Brianna, if you'd like to add on to any of those comments, that will be helpful.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also, we have an incredible team, an incredible office. They're called the Office of Global Services. They assist students directly with immigration and visa services. So not only, I mean, I could speak to us because they are an incredible team, and their main job is to help our students with that transition and get all of their questions and their concerns answered. You can meet with the person like face to face, you can meet them via Zoom. They have incredible resources. And I would say also, not only with us, but when you're looking at other institutions in the US, maybe that is part of your search when you're trying to decide which school is the best fit for you. Maybe it is a team that there is a specific group, a specific department that helps students just with immigration and visa services. And if you're looking at an institution that doesn't have that, then maybe that's not the institution for you. So also something to keep in mind when you're looking at where you would like to go and spend your next, 2 to 5 years.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I think that's wonderful. So a lot of questions that have come around Indian students finding jobs and study abroad or work permits, etc. I think answers by Dr. Woodson, a little bit of commentary from my end, and Brianna's response should have certainly helped out. Dr. Woodson, there was a question around personalization when it comes to jobs. After reviewing CVs and stuff like that, you would have realized that it's very important to when you're applying to a company, applying for a job, and this is not only just in the US, but also it could apply anywhere. You need to tailor your resume, tailor your pitch to every job you apply to. So, when people just make one resume and just send it out to 500, because LinkedIn has one feature, which I'm not a big fan of. It's called easy apply. It's just super lazy. You just click, keep on clicking buttons, and the personalization really goes. So that laziness has come. What is the importance of personalizing your pitch, which includes your CV, which includes your cover letter, to every job you applied?
Yeah, so it's really important. I think somebody asked, how do you balance efficiency in that process? So it's related to this. Basically like it's time consuming, and the long and short of it is it is. So one recommendation I might have is, not necessarily thinking about this as starting from a blank page each time, right? But having your template document that you always tweak, and you have certain parts of it that you tweak. When it comes to your resume, you might have different versions for different kinds of opportunities. So for example, one easy way of thinking about this is, oh, this is the resume that I'm using to apply for research opportunities. This is the resume that I'm using to apply for industry opportunities. Or maybe this is the resume that I'm using to apply for data science roles. This is the one that I'm using to apply for software engineering roles, right? So you might have multiple versions that sort of speak to a certain category or genre of opportunities. So you're not literally writing each one brand new. That is one way of thinking about it. But I think the personalized approach can also be in the follow-up, right? So I agree. I am skeptical of the easy apply whenever we have a student come in and they're like, I applied to 500 jobs last week. I'm like, well, those applications could not have been that strong because there's no way. Certainly you may, one of the things I didn't talk about in the presentation is using AI in this process. That could be a whole presentation or set of presentations on itself. Definitely encourage use of it in a way that is helpful for you, but not overly relying on it, right? We don't want AI tools to be doing things for us. We might want to use them as a starting point or a help, or a review, right? But making sure that you have eyes on the materials that you're putting out there is always important. But that follow-up component, right? So if you are doing the easy apply, which I'm skeptical of, or you are submitting applications, right? That follow-up could be where you try to have your personalized approach. But really showing that you've, as somebody who's hired and somebody who's worked with, I don't even know, hundreds of people looking for jobs and internships, it's very clear when somebody has taken a few minutes to modify a cover letter and when they are very clearly recycling the same generic thing. So really, really simple, easy trick. If you can take out the name of the company and put in a new company and the letter still works, right? It's still good, then you probably need to make it a little bit more specific, right? Somebody should be able to read it and feel like it was written for them. And that could be 2 sentences that makes it clear, right? It doesn't have to be the whole thing. I hope that helps.
It does. It does. Thank you so much for that. I think there were a couple of questions, and I know we're out of time. We're already 7 minutes over. I think, Brianna, there were some questions around work experience, and I know there have been tons of questions asked on this masterclass. Could you clarify if there is a requirement of having work experience to apply to any of the MS programs? If yes, then which programs? And the other question is around relevant work experience. If I've studied, if I want to change my course, will this, like, what are your thoughts on people that study something in the undergrad but want to move into a different field for them?
Yeah, these are really good questions. So first, no work experience is required for any of our programs. However, that doesn't mean that you just put nothing on your resume. That means that during your undergrad right now, you should be doing something, whether that is being a team lead on a project, whether that is working closely alongside a professor or an advisor, or you're doing an internship. It's not required, but doing something that shows the department what you have been doing all of this time and how those skills are going to transfer to a graduate level and help you be successful in the program that you're applying to. So anything that is relevant to the program that you're applying to, specific skill sets, anything like that. I know for computer science is a very popular program of ours. AI is having its big moment right now. So obviously you'll need to be efficient and proficient in specific skills like Java, Python, etc. So if you have other experience within coding or, software development, that would be great. Just something to show the department what you've been doing and how those skills are going to transfer over. And then when it comes to being interested in a program that doesn't necessarily align with or wasn't the same as your undergrad, we're a STEM designated school, so we have STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, and math. And so for majority of our programs, you need to have some sort of background within STEM. We that's just something that is something that you have to think about. We also have we have specific programs. We have our financial engineering program, where you need to have specific math courses and math prerequisites in order to even be eligible to apply to that program. So something that I would do is, this goes for us, but also any institution that you're researching, that you're looking into. Go on their websites. We have incredible websites. They are so helpful. It gives you an overview of the program. It'll show you any prerequisites that may be needed, if any. And also on each individual program website that we have for each of our programs, there is a course list. So it can give you a list of the curriculum, exactly what courses you'll be taking. I have students look at those, especially if you're kind of going in between two programs and you're trying to decide which one is best for you. Look at that course list. Look at the different classes that you may be taking. If you're interested in them, if they're exciting to you, then that can help you make your decision. And if not, then maybe you need to pivot to a different program. So I would say, look on the websites, look at the resources, see if any prerequisites are needed, see what you need to have from your undergrad in order to apply. And the second one is, there's no harm in reaching out to an admissions counselor. I'm an admissions counselor. I meet with students all the time. We meet via Zoom. So if for any institution that you're looking to apply to, if you want to talk to a real person face to face via Zoom to get your questions answered, you can absolutely do that. Send them an email, request to meet. You can also always just send them an email with all of your questions. There's no harm in getting more information before you commit or before you decide to apply. That's at least what I would do. So hopefully that is helpful to some of you.
Wonderful. It is certainly helpful. And, Brianna, thank you so much for that. Brianna is actually also going to be there in India very, very soon, as early as next, on the coming Sunday. We are going to be in Mumbai. So if you'd like, if you are in Mumbai and if you'd like to meet Brianna and think about studying an MS program in the US in the near future, meet her in person, understand what, we'll be doing some panels. You'll get a chance to talk to her on a one-to-one basis about your profile. I understand that there are folks that have questions about your respective profile and career plans. Brianna herself will be there and she'll be answering your questions in person in Mumbai on the 5th of October. And if you are in Chennai, then we will be in Chennai on the 11th of October. I've shared the registration links as well. We would appreciate if you can, share this with your friends if they haven't managed to join this webinar. If you know anyone in Mumbai or in Chennai who's interested, it'll be great for you to come to these events and have a chat with Brianna and some of her other friends from different universities as well. We have 13 minutes over time. We understand we've answered most of your questions through the Q&A tab. Thank you so much for doing that, Dr. Butz, and thank you so much for doing that, Brianna, as well. And most importantly, thank you so much for the 328 of you still in this room. Well, in this virtual room, on your mobiles, on your iPads, on your computers, laptops, wherever that is. Thank you so much for taking time out. Have a wonderful rest of the evening for folks in India, afternoon for the folks in West Africa, and have a nice rest of the day to anyone joining us from North America. Thank you so much, Dr. Woodson. Thank you so much, Brianna. And we would hope that like a lot of you still consider pursuing master's programs in the US. Thank you and goodbye.